Hey guys, this is Alex, and I just got caught in a real bad situation on OLB where I got caught in a downward halt and lost almost 5 times my intended risk. So that was pretty costly, and it definitely affected the way that this day has gone. It was started okay, and now I look at my watch list and I see everything's tanking. These things with news are still tanking, and BPTH too. It's one of the most well-known former runners, and yet it can't seem to find enough momentum to really take off and go vertical. So, what I'm going to do here is close the morning session and probably go back to bed, and then try to get some rest and come back in the afternoon. Because right now I'm having a real hard time getting my mind off this OLB trade. I definitely took the worst of the worst case scenarios, and like the monetary damage is not bad, but it is affecting me, and I feel like my ideas almost right away after I got out of this trade, I started thinking about revenge trading. I started looking around like, well, how can I get it back? And that's terrible. So I'm gonna play it safe and close and try to refresh, and then come back in the afternoon, and hopefully I can catch something safe. And I did come back in the afternoon, and I did find something safe, which was ANCN. And this is roughly what I was looking at, what I have the charts lined up to right now. And as you can see, after a crazy rip here, like this rip right here from $4 up to around 10.50, and a substantial pullback, I noticed something in the tape that I liked. I thought this would be the reversal point. And at the same time that I saw that, I noticed that we had double bottomed right here, which was just above the VWAP. And so I thought, okay, perfect. Let me wait for a little bit more volume, a little bit more confirmation, and then I'm going to take a starter, hoping to add pretty aggressively going back up with a primary target of just under $10, a secondary target of high of day, which is around 10.50, and then no particular back of mind targets. It would have been whatever, play it by ear and read the tape and see what's good. And so I scaled in here. I took my first entry at 818, and I ended up adding, I believe, just after 50. And then we got this squeeze right here on high volume going up to $9, and I thought, yes, here we go. And then as we were about to break $9, I hit the button, which was Control W for the add-on, to add another half position at $9. And then boom, lights out. And there's a lamp right behind my monitor that was on at the time, and that went dark as well. And you'd think that'd be enough evidence for me to understand that the power went out. And I did understand, like, okay, that's a power outage, but I couldn't grasp how it was possible, because I have a external power supply that I use and have used for the last 2 years. And the reason that I use an external power supply is because I got hit really hard. I don't even have to look up the records or anything. I know the date exactly. It was the 10th of October, 2018, where I scaled into a really big position coming into the open, suffered a power outage, and then suffered like a $500 loss on a bankroll at that time of, I think, less than 4,000. And at that time, it was by far the most devastating moment in my trading activities since then, my entire history, simulators included. And it reminded me of that right away. But I thought, I have a power supply. What's the problem? And it took me probably 3 or 4 seconds to come to grips with what actually was the case. And as it turns out, it's over the weekend that when I was cleaning up everything, my desk area, and I did a full clean. I took everything apart, mopped the floor, and the whole works. And in that procedure, I did unplug all of my computer stuff, all my hardware. And it would appear, I mean, there's no question that I didn't plug it back in. And so here I am, like, in a situation where it looks like we're about to squeeze into a halt fest, and I'm not around to manage this trade. And I'm like, God damn it, I have to do this quickly, but it's out of my control, right? It's how fast can you start your computer? And for me, generally, that's like a minute and a half process sometimes. It is pretty slow. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but I logged back in, and to my just shock and devastation, I found the stock that was squeezing into a $9 break. All of a sudden, I look up, and the first thing I meet when I open my broker screen is we're squeezing down into a halt at $6.55. And while my computer was rebooting, I thought, this isn't the end of the world. I'm probably going to log back in and find myself up another 50 cents or so. And maybe, I would have missed a spike, and I'll find myself in the midst of a pullback. But I just never imagined that it would have been so harsh so quickly. And given that I had already got caught in a downward halt in the morning, I was like, no, I can't let myself do this again. I can't get caught in this situation. And so I hit the bid right away for all of it. And I figured that that's, the best thing that I could do, and that I couldn't risk, given that I wasn't around for the crash. I don't know what kind of attitude this stock has right now. And so I have no information. And based on the no information, I felt that the only thing that I could do was to just get out of the trade right then and there and not let it get any worse. And so that's what I did. And then once I closed that trade, I just sat there in shock. I couldn't believe it. I was thinking, what the hell just happened to my day? How did I let myself make such a stupid mistake that I already made before? It cost me, I don't know, $60 or something for the external power supply, and it saved me multiple times. I've had multiple power outages since then that I've been saved from because I had this power supply. And that moment on October 10th, 2018, man, that was some traumatizing shit. And it's been fresh in my memory ever since. Like I said, I don't even need to look it up. It was NVCN was the ticker. I believe it's Neovasc Inc. And, that's fresh in my mind. And I just, after closing this trade, I'm like, how the fuck did I make this mistake? What did I do to this day just now? I already got caught in this, downward halt on OLB. And that one, I wasn't even upset about it. I made peace with it pretty quickly. And I know that bit at the beginning of the recap here, that was recorded right after or soon after I closed that. But after waking up, I took a nap just like I planned, and I woke up feeling good and fresh and everything. And I made peace with that trade. I thought, no, I actually managed that well given the mistake that I made on it. And now I come back and I get hit by this power outage bullshit where, we were squeezing up into $9 and I come back and it's, $2.50 lower. I felt like that was just, the universe is just laughing at me right now. And following that, I never really got right for the rest of the day. It really, the impact of those two moments, those two brutal trades were, by far the biggest two losers. I'll scroll over here. They're both 20% plus. This is what we're talking about, these two right here. And they're both, more than 20% losers. That's next level. I can count on one hand the number of 20% losers I've taken even in the last entire year. And here I am taking two in one day. And so I was really shocked by that. And as you can see, I did continue trading. I tried to shake it off and be like, look, this wasn't a failure of strategy. I got into this position that was good. And if I had been present, then I probably would have escaped with minimal damage, or maybe even in the green. And so I didn't really want to beat myself up too much for either of these. And I thought maybe just get focused and keep going. And try to make the best out of a bad situation and see if I can get anything back safely. And like I said, my mind never really got right for the rest of the day. I took these three trades down here, which were all pretty small, basically inconsequential. I took another loser to make it worse. I think my P&L went all the way down to a negative 160. And then I took a small winner here where I overtraded a little bit and paid too much commissions, and it ended up only being like a $22 winner. And even that made me a little bit, it consoled me a little bit because I kind of undid the bad trade that I took on TGC just before. And so I was like, okay, well, we're back to where we were after the ANCN trade. Maybe it's time to quit. And then I didn't. I took another trade on UAMY. And I didn't have patience on that one. I didn't let that one get bad. And I just stopped out as a loser. And I thought, okay, that's it. I'm throwing in the towel. I can't handle this. I'm really emotionally upset. And this is definitely not the situation to keep trading. And so I just decided to close it up right there. And this is my final result for day number 15. This is negative $152.83, which is nearly minus 6%, which is definitely hurts. Most of the reason I didn't make the recap yesterday was because I just couldn't. I was choked, literally. The impact of those two moments and, not being able to get it back, to continue trading, to continue making mistakes. I was just like, how did I let this momentum get blown up so quickly? I just erased. I had, 3 green days that were not really spectacular, that weren't really noteworthy. And I just erased them instantly in one day. Not instantly, but in one day, I just deleted them. And all the momentum, which wasn't much to begin with, I just killed it again. It's basically like day number 11 all over again, but worse. And for the rest of the day, I tried to figure out, was there anything strategy-wise that I could have done better, that I could have saved myself? And the only part that I really pinpointed where I could have maybe changed, like avoided this whole future, was my trade on OLB, where I missed my stop and I gave it a second, and I think I gave it too many seconds. And that's when I ended up getting caught in a downward halt on OLB, where I was present. And I thought, okay, maybe that's a spot where I could have saved perhaps $40. And the trades that I took at for the rest of the day, yeah, I could have avoided those three as well. But other than that, I mean, it was a forgetfulness thing. It's something that happened behind the scenes. And I know I'm kind of going on about it here, but what's even more annoying is that it was a beautiful day on day 15. Like the sun was shining, there was absolutely no ice buildup or anything. There wasn't a storm. There was no valid reason for the power to go out, which just made it even more annoying. I haven't always had an external power supply. That was something I did after October 10th, 2018. That's the first time that I had one. But before that, in simulators, I did suffer some power outages and I did get caught in minor losses. And something I did to adjust before I even knew an external power supply existed, one of the things I did was I'd check the weather to make sure there were no, storms coming in that might affect the power. And I stopped doing that since I bought the power supply. But even if I knew that the power supply was off, I never would have assumed, I never would have expected this to happen with the power outage. And I guess I'll pretty much cut it off there in terms of, rambling about how upset I am, because I think you get the point. I think my result probably gives you an idea of, how shitty I felt about this. And the fact that I didn't make the recap too on time, that's generally a sign that something affected me that day. And this was definitely the case. I really was shaking coming off of it. And I am writing this after the fact. I've already completed day 16 and it was a good day. So, I'm not really maybe representing exactly how upset I was. And I did want to go into a couple of the trades, and especially OLB. I guess I'll say it here. I did, my stop on this trade, I'll open my trade log here. My stop on OLB was planned to be $15 initially, and then once I added, I started with 16 shares and I took an 8-share add-on. I forget where, but in any case, my stop got adjusted up to, I believe, 15.40, and then my hard stop was at 15, and 40 got blown past pretty quickly, and then I said, okay, let's just wait for 14 or for 15 rather. And then 15 broke and immediately dropped down to 14.50, where there was a buyer stacked up pretty well. And I thought, okay, I'm doing this again. I just adjusted my stop for a total of 90 cents. Where's the line in the sand here? And that is really the mistake I made on OLB is giving it too much chance when I think the writing on the wall was a little bit clear. And especially given the fact that I let this trade go pretty substantial green to very substantial red. I think that's clearly a mistake somewhere, even though I may not be able to identify it. But ultimately, most of my being upset has to do with just not remembering to plug in the power supply. It's not like I look at this day and I'm like, oh, I totally lost control or anything like that. That isn't the case at all. I mean, my good winner there, it was pretty small position, only 16 shares, but BPTH I played great. 38 second scalp where I read it very well. It was in the first seconds of the day, and there was an amazing flag, and I thought, okay, I'm getting in this right now for a really big move, up to $22. And I was expecting, by the way, at that time, the pre-market high was exactly $17. And so my entry at $15.95 was anticipating the break of $17. And I had expected, given that it's BPTH, given that there is a catalyst, and everything else that's positive about the situation, there was the most amazing flag of all time on the 5-minute chart. And I thought, okay, once it breaks 17, it basically needs to rip up to 19 in a matter of 15 seconds. Otherwise, I don't like this. And that's what happened, is I didn't like it. It broke 17. It didn't do it strong enough for my tastes. And I just got out right there. And I ended up booking a 10% winner on what is effectively a failed trade. And so I look at that and I think, well, that's good. I mean, I got involved in the first minute of the day, which is something I don't do unless I have a lot of conviction in the setup. And I had a lot of conviction in this setup, and I was right, and I nailed it, and everything went okay. Even though I didn't get to add on, and even though I didn't get to ride up the big winner that I was looking for, I still played it well given what I saw, and I reacted very well to this situation. And I even think that about OLB too, is once I got caught in that halt, I thought, okay, we're gonna open at $12. Like I thought, I'm stopping out at $12. This is gonna be bad, and I did the math and I figured out, okay, I'm gonna lose. I think it was like $72 extra if I stop out at 12, and I'm kind of okay with that. Like, let's just try to get less loss than that. And so I viewed it like it reminded me very much of getting caught in a news halt in July, where I had like a $4,000 position. And anyway, news halt happened, and I expected once I got caught in the news halt, I was like, okay, this stock is going to open at zero, which actually is never going to be the case. But mentally, in order to prepare myself to manage the trade well, I thought it's better to expect the worst and then have it be better than worse, to expect something not so bad and then be disappointed. And that's exactly what I did on OLB. Is I was expecting the worst, and then I tried to just do a little bit better than the worst, and I didn't get greedy. I gave it a moment, and it did curl back up to, I think, like 1750, or rather 1350, and there was a lot of momentum. You can go look up the times of my exit, and you'll see that, yeah, there was a curl happening there. And then once it broke back below the lows, that's when I cut out the second half, and I decided to just, limit the damage right there. And I think that the way I played this coming out of that halt was actually damn near optimal. And so I look back and I don't even have anything to look at to be upset about. I mean, yeah, there's these 3 trades at the bottom here, but the monetary damage of those trades is so minimal that I don't think I can really focus on them correctly. But anyway, I'm going to be cutting this recap off right here. I think that, my disappointment in this day is pretty clear. I think I've explained everything I need to. The last thing I'll say is how I felt coming into my bedtime yesterday on day 15. I was trying to consider what this is actually. I'm pretty shaken by this. How should I react? And I thought about taking Thursday and Friday off. I did have a few things to do midday on Thursday, and I thought maybe I should just take the rest of the week off and just really go back to the drawing board and see if there's anything I can do to make sure that the bleeding doesn't go further. And I decided that was the wrong decision. I decided avoiding the market, not getting back on the horse is often the worst decision. You have to play through, whatever it is. And, running away is not usually the right answer. It's certainly not the way that I deal with anything, really, running away. So I decided I would make some adjustments, but that I would still be present on Thursday morning.